Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass Podcast. This for UFC 286. I'm Paul Shaughnessy. Producer Megan's on the sticks. Cody Saftic is fresh home from vacation in Nashville. Ready to break down 15 fights from the UK. This episode of the Dogger Pass Podcast and all episodes of the Dogger Pass Podcast are brought to you by Prize Picks. Use promo code DOP when making a new account to get a match up to $100 on your first deposit. How was the trip there, Code?
Good, man. Great trip. Good trip down. Again, big fan of the city. And there's so much stuff to do, right? I've already been down there, and the second time around, it's like so many different things and so many different places to eat. And yeah, I don't know. It was good to get out and do something different. But unfortunately, I had to pay for the entire vacation. And then I had to pay for some shitty picks last week. Not shitty in terms of like wins versus losses. And I knew it was going to be Dog City. I just didn't have the right dogs. Shitty in that I had Jan at the top thinking if JJ Aldrich wins, it's an easy hedge out. JJ Aldrich shits in the apple pie quintessentially. I have to let it ride at this point because I only got one ticket left in play. And then Jan loses. So crushed from top to bottom. Not a good betting week. This week we've got a pay-per-view. We've got 15 fights like you mentioned. So happy to get at it, and hopefully we get right back on track.
Yeah, I turned a small profit, and it all came down to the Martinez by decision. I also added them live, but I basically scattershotted a whole bunch of like really wide props. All of them lost except for Martinez by decision. But when you're betting massive plus money, you don't have to be right all that often. So small profit, nothing to brag about, nothing to be too excited about. 15 fights. Let's get into it. We got the trilogy of Kamaru Usman taking on Leon Rocky Edwards. Minus 235 Usman, plus 200 for Edwards. Take it away, Code.
I think you got to go with Kamaru Usman on the basis of, I don't know, it's tough. It's tough because you have to pay for it, knowing that he just got KO'd, knowing that he's a little bit older, knowing that it's his first knockout loss, and how's he going to come back from it, and he's got to go to Leon Edwards' own backyard and this, that, and the other. But to me, it seems like you saw the fight. It seems like Kamaru Usman was the better fighter. It seems like he's got the tools to go out there and get the victory. And yeah, he got clipped, but I just believe that he's one of those great champions that should be able to make the corrections and come back. Now, we've kind of seen this before. George St. Pierre got clipped by Matt Serra. And when they rematched, it was like, oh, well, maybe Matt Serra will do it again. Yeah, but he did it, right? In fact, nobody ever knocked out George after that fight. He did get clipped by a head kick by Carlos Condit, but all the same, never did get knocked out after that. The Cain Velasquez fight with Junior Dos Santos, he gets clipped that first time. That second time, you see who the better fighter is. I think Usman will go out there refocused, re-energized, and do what he needs to do. But again, you know now that Leon Edwards is dangerous the entire time, right? For me, it's a Usman by decision. I don't see him finishing Edwards. I don't think he's got a submission game that exists that should be able to tap out Leon Edwards. I don't think he's going to be able to go out and knock him out. So even though I don't like this money line, I 100% try to improve it. If I'm picking Kamaru Usman, which I am, I try to improve it by taking that Usman by decision. Edwards' case, it's not like he just knocked him out. He legitimately won the first round against Kamaru Usman the last time they fought, right? He took Kamaru Usman down. First guy in UFC history to land a takedown on Usman. Furthermore, he mounts him, takes his back, secures a body triangle, kills the last minute of the first round, legitimately wins the first round. So it's not as if he just has a puncher's chance. It's just he could win the fight on the basis of putting the right game plan together. But you see 2, 3, 4, it's Kamaru Usman. It's Kamaru Usman with 5 takedowns. It's Kamaru Usman with 10.5 minutes of control time. It's Kamaru Usman grinding away with them. And if I'm Usman and I just got knocked out by a head kick, you think I want to go out there and dance around and play the outside perimeter game? No, I want to go out there, kill that space, and get some takedowns. So if he goes out there and just wrestles, hard to imagine that Edwards wins this fight, other than, a contentious split decision or something, because it is in the UK by all things, right? So for me personally, I'll take Kamaru Usman by decision. Line, don't love it. And hopefully I don't get bummed on a decision or knocked out late.
I'm going to go the opposite side. I'm going to pick Leon Edwards. The fights in the UK, we've seen really, really shabby scoring historically, whether you're talking about like, I've been screwed on so many like Saturday afternoon boxing cards, like tailing somebody, and the hometown guy always wins. Now, obviously, the UFC brings a lot of their own judges for these types of things. I just think like here's my general mentality, and I see like the narrative going out there that Usman was like minus 1,300 going into round 5, or I don't know the exact number, but it's like. Yeah, but because that's how MMA scoring works. It's like it was very clear that it was 3-1 heading into the last round. The only way Edwards wins or gets a draw is either gets a 10-8 or finds a way to get the knockout. If he lands that head kick in round 2, we're having a totally different conversation. I think the fact that he was able to have some success in round 1 in the grappling department, didn't get finished in the following rounds where he looked kind of lost out there. He's like 4 years younger than Kamaru Usman. I don't know. I feel like maybe this is the end of the line for Usman as the elite of the elite in the division. I'm more than willing to be wrong. I haven't bet it yet, but at north of plus 200, I'm going to be a buyer on Leon Rocky Edwards to retain his title. Moving on down, we've got Rafael Fiziev taking on Justin the Highlight Gaethje. Banger fight. I mean, this is one of those fights that it's like must-see TV. Fiziev is a minus 225 favorite. Gaethje can be had for plus 190. What do you think here, bud?
Yeah, well, obviously this is must-see TV. And when you're the UFC and you're trying to sell a pay-per-view, it's like, oh, well, we got a title fight. Okay, cool. We got a title fight. How much do people care about this title fight? I don't know. I don't know how much interest there is, but you give it a nice co-feature like this. Yeah, if you're a fan of the sport, you're definitely going to be tuning in. Justin Gaethje has been basically the highlight kid ever since he's come into the UFC. It's been nothing but fight of the nights. It's been nothing but fight of the years. Even before he comes to the UFC, his entire run with World Series of Fighting, just an absolute highlight. But as such, man, he's just taken so much damage. And now at 34, I think when you make a living as being that guy that's just tougher than his opponent, willing to take a punch to give a punch, that's fine. But once your body starts breaking down, once your durability starts to go, the game plan's just not going to work anymore. Defensively, he's most definitely a liability. Even if you go back to those World Series of Fighting fights, he'll fight to the level as an opponent. Both fights with Luis Palomino, he just slugs it out with him. He takes a ton of damage. A lot of these are fights, even though he's a 10-1 favorite, he's taking the damage. He's making them entertaining. His UFC debut against Michael Johnson, rocked in the first round, comes back and beats him. Basically, every fight subsequent to that one, he's going to take a lot of damage. He's going to give back that damage. Again, though, you're starting to see the cracks in the armor. He was a guy that had that legendary durability. It took Eddie Alvarez 3 rounds, finishes him in the 3rd. It takes Dustin Poirier 4 rounds. I think those 2 fights alone is like a career worth of damage to sustain. But again, he had some great performances after that. The Charles Oliveira fight last time out, he's got Charles hurt, right? Charles, by all means, is on rubber legs, but he just doesn't pace himself, Gaethje. He just continuously goes in for the kill, and then you see as soon as Charles lands on him, hurts him, puts him down, Charles gets his back, is able to choke him out, and get the rear naked choke victory. To me, against Fiziev, it's very much striker versus striker. Gaethje can wrestle. He just chooses not to wrestle, right? If he's going to stand in front of Fiziev and just throw these bombs, I very much see Rafael Fiziev just landing the cleaner shots. Maybe not the better shots all the time, but the cleaner shots. He's going to intercept him. He's going to see him coming. He's going to counter. Gaethje has a wild style. He has a reckless style. He has a fun style. But to somebody that's that technical in Rafael Fiziev, I think he's going to see a lot of those shots coming. I think he's going to avoid a lot of them. I don't think he's going to be as susceptible to the leg kicks. And the only guy that really had good success with that volume-based attack with the striking was Bobby Green. Well, Bobby Green defensively, kind of responsible. Shakes a move, shakes his head all around, does the shoulder roll, but a guy that's not there to get hit necessarily a whole lot, whereas Justin Gaethje is. This is another price point, though. I don't love the money line by all means, because I know that Justin Gaethje is going to fight for my dollar. I know that he's going to go out and be reckless. I know that he's got a puncher's chance. I know that he's got cardio. I know that he's got the experience. I know that he's performed at the highest level and been a guy that's, challenged for the title. So the plus money on him certainly looks tempting. It's just I see the cracks in the wall. I see him starting to fall apart a little bit. I see him starting to slow down a little bit. And whereas there was a time where guys just couldn't handle that pressure, now they can. Now they can kind of figure him out a little bit. Again, though, when you have 2 world-class grapplers, right? This guy's a good wrestler. That guy's a great wrestler. You bet the great wrestler all day long. In striking, it's a little bit different. You got a good striker, you got a great striker. Because it's punchy-kicky, Good striker's got a great chance of getting the knockout as well. Gaethje is live as an underdog. It's just not enough for me to pull the trigger on him. So I will go with Rafael Fiziev. Don't have a prop on it. As much as I would like to say Fiziev by decision, the way that Justin Gaethje fights, I don't like betting him in 15-minute spots. And I also don't like to bet him to get finished because the guy could take one hell of a punch. So I don't have a great prop lean on that one, but the pick would be Fiziev.
Yeah, I echo a lot of your same sentiments there. I'm picking Fiziev. I think he's the better overall striker. He impressed me against Rafael dos Anjos last time out with like his takedown defense. And Gaethje, if you're betting Gaethje because you think he's actually going to put that singlet on, like we've been waiting for that for so long. It isn't gonna Maybe he pulls the wool over all of our eyes and he finally goes out there and implements it. But Fiziev has shown enough takedown defense, I think, that I don't think it's just going to be easy to just go out there and just, take him down and hold him down for 15 full minutes. So I'm going to go with the better striker. But yeah, minus 225. I think the books have this about right. Like Gaethje's 100% live. Rafael Fiziev got knocked out by Magomed Mustafayev with a spinning back kick. First fight in the UFC, and it's only been wins since then. Punchy, kicky, as you said, crazy things can happen, and Gaethje hits really hard. So if he lands a bomb, gets the knockout, it's very, very, very obviously in play. He could win a decision as well, though, because his volume is probably, like, if he goes blood and guts war, he can probably outvolume just about anybody in the lightweight division. So I would steer clear of like really attacking props here. I don't know what is really going to happen when the two of these guys get in there, but I know I can't wait to find out. Fiziev will be the pick, but no bet. Gunnar Nelson takes on Bryan Barberena, minus 355 for Gunnar Nelson. Barberena could be half a plus 280. I mean, this probably comes down to how early and how often does Gunnar Nelson get the takedowns. It's not so simple as, he's going to take him down and get the submission, because I was on Gunnar Nelson to win by submission last time out. And, I mean, he wasn't really chasing the submission when he went down there. He got the 3 takedowns, but he was happy to. He's a smart guy. He's always been a smart guy. The way that he fights, very analytical in his approach. He's not going to lose position to chase a submission or a finish. Yeah, I really struggle to find a prop here. I think Gunnar Nelson wins. Like, how do you beat Bryan Barberena? You take him down. Like, go through his UFC stats page. It's just like this guy gets taken down over and over and over and over again against people with less talent than Gunnar Nelson. If the fight is staying on the feet, Bryan Barberena is the guy who can throw 180 significant strikes. That's not Gunnar Nelson's game whatsoever. Barberena is durable. I mean, if you have like a prop that's like Nelson by sub or decision, I wonder what that pays. I'll look that up and let you take it away. The pick is going to be Gunnar Nelson for me, but minus 355. I think it's probably close to about right. Like, I've seen it hovering around minus 400 in other spots. Like, the path is very clearly there. It's the tricky part becomes, does he get the finish here? And I'm not so sure after his last time out. So, Gunnar Nelson for me. What about you?
This feels like a straight up trap line to me. Like, there's what should happen, and then there's what's probably going to happen. Now, let's talk about what should happen first of all. Gunnar Nelson takes his back, probably gets a rear naked choke. If not, secures position. Why? Much more fluid grappler, like you said. He's got a knack for taking them back, and Bryan Barberena has got takedown defense issues and also got serious issues of giving his back up. If you want to run through the guys that have taken Bryan Barberena down, Anthony Ivy took him down 5 times. Jason Witt took him down 8 times. Darian Weeks took him down 4 times. Matt Brown took him down 5 times. These guys aren't wrestlers. I'll give him a pass that Rafael dos Anjos took him down 4 times. Pass all day. The other guys, you get no pass. He's got defensive wrestling issues. So it's not that Gunnar probably takes him down. It's that pretty much everybody probably takes him down. Whereas the other guys don't have great grappling and allow Bryan Barberena to just get back up. That's not going to be the case with Gunnar. He doesn't need the rear naked choke. He just needs the back. As soon as he gets the back, he puts the body triangle in. Once he puts the body triangle in, say goodbye for the rest of the 4 minutes that's left in the round. You're not going anywhere. So when you think about it that way, Gunnar very likely wins this fight by decision, if not a rear naked choke finish, especially knowing what you know from that last fight with Bryan Barberena, that Rafael dos Anjos, easy takedowns, takes his back, chokes him out. Gunnar Nelson, a guy that's fought his entire career at 170 pounds, theoretically does the same thing. If he doesn't get the choke, he just wins 2 of the 3 rounds, wins the fight. That's what should happen. Here's why it feels super trappy to me. So the line's obviously wide because the line's very reflective of what should happen. But Gunnar Nelson, man, he's 34 years old. It's not like he's a spring chicken by any stretch, but he doesn't fight very often. This is a guy that's had one fight since 2019. That one fight since 2019 was against Takashi Sato, where he just pretty much went through the motions. So he's fought at a high level previously, but he's effectively had one fight in the last 4 years. Now, when you remember him at his glory days, he's 30 years old. He's in the prime of his life. And he's a small-ass welterweight, for the record. Guy should have been fighting at 155 pounds, but he's always been against weight cut. So he competes at 170, and eventually he got to not title contention, but like fringe top 10 contender, and the guys were just too big for him. Now, he shows a split decision loss to Leon Edwards. Super impressive, right? But if you watch the fight, how is it a split decision? Like, Edwards very clearly wins the first 2 rounds, and in the third takes it off, makes a mistake, allows Gunnar Nelson to have some grappling spots, loses the 3rd round, at worst, whatever. So that on paper looks good for him. His fight with Gilbert Burns, he gets outstruck. It doesn't matter. This is what I want to zone back to. His fight with Alex Oliveira, okay? The first round, he gets outstruck 30-2 against Cowboy Oliveira. He's getting beat up, and then he snatches the submission. The fight with Gilbert Burns, right? Gilbert Burns is a top guy, so I won't hold too much against him, but you see that he's not an elite level grappler. Solid grappler, but not an elite level grappler. He takes 3 years off, comes back as a massive favorite against Takashi Sato and wins, but leaves a lot to the imagination. So we're betting him on a line that's like prime Gunnar Nelson, good to go, great training camp. But in all reality, he's had one fight in the last 4 years. He's now in his mid-30s. He's a small welterweight to begin with. He hasn't fought that elite competition in a long time. Those are all like, causes for concern. And he gets outworked in pretty much all of these fights. Like the Alan Jouban fight, he's getting outstruck. He ends up winning. Ends up getting the submission. The Alex Oliveira fight, he's easily getting outstruck, and he ends up getting the submission. If he does not get the submission on Bryan Barberena, there's a good possibility that he just gets worked over on the numbers. Now, Bryan Barberena, for as many takedowns as he gives up so many of them because he does have a good ability to get back to his feet. Even Rafael dos Anjos needed 4 takedowns to put him away, right? So if he does give up a takedown to Gunnar, he's just got to make sure he don't give up his back. Got to keep moving. Got to get back up to his feet. Here's a guy that eventually was walking around at like 220 pounds before his back surgery. Is a big guy. Is very big. Well, he was a huge lightweight, but pretty solid for 170 pounds. One has to wonder he wouldn't be considered a live underdog just because of the layoff, for Nelson, just because of the, so one-dimensional. Is his game evolved? The sport's evolved. Has his game evolved? And it seems too easy. Oh, well, he'll just take down Bryan Barberena like everybody does, and he'll just take his back like most people do. And once Gunnar's on your back, it's all over. Seems very easy. But I feel like this is a trap line. So it's big favorite. Gunnar probably goes on a ton of your parlays. Gunnar busts a bunch of your parlays. Now, for the purpose of the show, I don't know if I got the cojones to bet on Barberena. I really don't. But if I was going to bet this minus 320, minus 350 price tag on Gunnar Nelson, like I think I would have it way low. Like I'm seeing something I don't like here, smelling something I don't like here. May still get the win, but for this price point, I have zero confidence in him.
Yeah, you'd be lucky to. It's like it came back down. It was at minus 400 and minus 355, which is the price that we've got on our board right now is the best market wide. We record this on a Wednesday late afternoon, so like there's a lot of question marks with Gunny. Not a fight I'm really excited to get to be perfectly honest. He could make it look really easy, get the takedown, find a submission, and it's pre-flop, it's really, really tough to know how it's all going to shake out. Moving on down, we've got King Casey O'Neill taking on Jennifer Maia, minus 180 on O'Neill, plus 155 for Maia. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm done betting women's MMA. I think people realize my track record is not all that good. I've never been all that good, but especially lately. Especially lately. And my man Maia always tries to. Oh, yeah, and I got to work at that Fight Network, so I'll most definitely be watching. And I'd be a liar if I didn't say I didn't have a few bucks on it. But come on, why do we keep doing this to ourselves? Why do I keep doing this to myself? So if you go back, even I hedged out, thank God. But Jessica Andrade goes ahead and blows one. She almost blew a huge one. But whatever. Because I hedged, I wasn't mad about it. But I could have got burned pretty good there. And then Shevchenko, I should have hedged more. I should have hedged more. I got a little stupid with that one because his mine is 850, easiest hedge in the world. So I should have just made it a 50-50 split. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Shevchenko loses. And then you see last week with JJ Aldrich, like, Pat's always been so on the money on this, like just take the underdog. And so here's actually a case where the underdog's live for sure. Not even just Pat's theory, but also the underdog's live. Casey O'Neill is very pretty. I think part of that is she's very marketable. She talks a good game. You can sell a lot of tickets with her. She's got a very bright future. She's young in the game. So the UFC marketing machine's certainly behind her. The fans are behind her. She's going to take favorite status over probably a lot of the girls in the division. Is that warranted? Maybe not, but she's going to take favorite status. So just right in that in itself, I think that there's a built-in value to Jennifer Maia. When you look at Casey O'Neill, young in the game, but has been kind of not struggling, but we'll go back 2 fights back to the Antonina Shevchenko fight, right? Struggles in the first round, grappling. Well, not grappling, but, not looking particularly good against Antonina Shevchenko till she gets going. The last fight against Roxanne Modafferi, giant favorite, right? Decent performance, but again, you see where Roxanne Modafferi, of all people, it should not have been a split decision. I'm not sure which judge gave it for Roxanne Modafferi, but you're seeing where Casey O'Neill is still green and is still learning. With Jennifer Maia, she's fought at the highest level. She's fought for a world title. She won the first round against Valentina Shevchenko, a prime version of Valentina Shevchenko. But furthermore, she seems to struggle against girls that are just super fast and will stay to the outside for 15 full minutes. Like, she's just too slow and plodding to catch Caitlin Chukagian. She's too slow and plodding to catch a Manon Fiorot. But if you're going to stand in front of her and engage her, if you want to grapple her a little bit in the clinch even, you're going to have a lot of success. So you saw in her last fight against Marina Moroz, comes in as a big underdog and shows you that she's a solid veteran, can strike, has some durability, strong in the clinch, good fighter. Now, Casey O'Neill stylistically gets the takedowns probably. And if you get the takedowns, you establish top control over Jennifer Maia, you're fine. You're going to win the fight. So stylistically, I like Casey's style. I think that style is going to win the fight. But again, if you go back to the fact that she's young, she's blossoming, she's going to have a career setback here pretty soon. They're pushing her fast along, and you can't just jump up from fighting, the Shayna Dobsons of the world and the Roxanne Modafferis of the world to fighting a credible former title challenger in Jennifer Maia, and Jennifer Maia's got the plus money price tag on her. So women's MMA being what women's MMA is, the dog's always got a shot, and this one seems like a classic fight where underdog's got a solid shot and probably comes through. So I think I'm going to take Jennifer Maia. Will I lose this one because I'm taking the underdog now? Yeah, probably. But long-term, Pat Maia's strategy has been the most effective strategy I've ever seen in my life, and so I've just got to trust the gods on that one.
I'm going to take Casey O'Neill. But minus 180, I don't want to get involved because I think there will be some really, really greasy spots. That Roxanne fight, she gets taken down twice. She only attempts 2 takedowns on her own. I think she was going into that fight saying, I'm taking on a striker that, doesn't really pose too much of a threat to me, at least on the feet. And she didn't really show the grappling chops that we've seen most of her big time success. Now, a lot of that success was against Shayna Dobson, don't get me wrong.
Even Laura Procopio, the first round, Procopio lights her up. And then the second round, Procopio cramps up. Blame it on a period. I don't want to talk any more about that one ever again. But she did not look good in the first round. Shevchenko fight, she looked a little bit better, I suppose, but still did not look good in that fight. Roxanne Modafferi fight, I didn't think she looked good. It's just you're fighting the most winnable opponent. Well, I shouldn't say most winnable opponent. Roxanne sprung a few upsets in her day. But still, it's like they've been tailor-made for her to look good. Maia, it's hard to look good against her. But that's fair. I would take you up. Did we do a shoey bet last week?
Yeah. You owe me a shoey. But, you were on vacation. We can do it later on in the show, whatever. Okay, I was going to say is, 223 significant strikes, 229 significant strikes through almost 400 significant strikes. I think it's dicey.
I'll tell you it's something. Dicey. If you go,
can I finish the sentence?
Gym, sorry, yeah, my bad. Go ahead.
I just think that it's going to be very, very, very dicey. I think Jennifer Maia has some significant skill advantages here, but if you're throwing that much volume in women's MMA and she actually commits to the takedowns this time out, Maia was taken down 5 times by Shevchenko. She was taken down at least twice by Jessica Ai, twice by Manon Fiorot. I think there's definitely a path here. I don't mind Casey O'Neill over 2.5 takedowns on Prize Picks. Don't love it, but don't mind it. And I think she can win on volume, but I think it's going to be one of those fights that, like, if you lay the minus 180, your butt's definitely puckered until the final bell. Take it away.
No, dude, that's absolutely fair, man. We'll leave it at that. Good.
All right, moving on down. We got Marvin Vettori taking on Roman Dolidze. Marvin Vettori, a minus 270 favorite. Roman can be had for plus 230. Who you got here? Marv or Mad Marv or Mr. Steal Your Girl?
Yeah, so this is the one that I probably put too high up on the card this week and take a beating on. But I think Marvin Vettori wins this fight, man. I like Marvin Vettori. Roman Dolidze, as big and strong and powerful as he is, he's more of like a comeback kid. He's more of a, like, spark a guy really quick. I don't know that he's going to fight this full 15 minutes. And again, you can go back to spots where he fights Trevin Giles for full 15 minutes, and it's unbelievably awful bog of a fight. His next fight with Lerone Staropoli, an absolutely terrible bog of a fight, where he's fighting a man half his size, almost exclusively in the clinch, and he just can't do anything. This guy's not a world-class grappler. He's not a world-class striker. I just really don't think he's all that good. Then he gets Kyle Daukaus, and boom, wouldn't you know, it just walks right through Kyle Daukaus, knocks him out. First round KO. Damn. And Kyle Daukaus is a little bit chinny for the record, but it's a nice knockout win for Roman Dolidze. You're not going to take that away from him. And then they give him Filho. Second fight, he's coming in as an underdog. Second fight where he's taking on a guy who's pretty chinny. And he just walks right through Filho. And the same thing, he bombs him with a beautiful KO. So, yeah, okay, I don't know how much I can put into that at a world-class level. He knocked out a couple gatekeeper fringe top 15 guys, all likelihood top 20, top 25 guys who have durability issues. Maybe Roman Dolidze can stand and defeat those guys with the quick first-round KOs, but how would he strike for a prolonged 15 minutes? Anyways, doesn't matter. They book him against Jack Hermansson. This is a legitimate test, right? Jack Hermansson wins the first round. Jack Hermansson's looking like the better fighter. That second round, man, I mean, call it what you want to call it, but a beautiful setup to calf slicer, to just nasty ground and pound, never lets him off the hook, finds a beautiful spot, executes, puts him away. It's high-level shit. I can't sit here with a straight face and badmouth him and say, oh, damn, got lucky. It was dope. It was dope. Same time, it was just one of those positions. How many times have you ever seen it? How many times is it ever going to happen again? He's losing the fight. Does not look like the better grappler than Jack Hermansson. The striking is nowhere to be found. Takedown defense isn't there for him. And he just gets one of those spots. So, yeah, he's live to finish, guys. The issue with Marvin Vettori is who's planning on finishing this guy? Like, he is durable, man. His head is just filled with cement. He can take one hell of a shot. His submission defense is pretty solid. His wrestling solid. His cardio solid. His striking solid. I wouldn't say he's great in any one area, but he's also too good to be called a generalist, right? He's generally good at everything, but he's a little bit better than just generally good. He's pretty solid. He's a top 3 guy in the world, a top 5 guy in the world. So where will he make the mistake for Roman Dolidze to capitalize? Because that's what Dolidze needs, is a mistake. He's not going to outpoint him over 15. He needs to capitalize on one mistake. So is he going to take Marvin Vettori down? I don't see it happen. Is he going to submit Marvin Vettori off his back? I don't see it happen. Is he going to clip Marvin Vettori and knock him out? This is MMA. It's certainly possible. And the way I'm talking right now, saying it's not going to happen, maybe it's going to happen. I just don't see it, man. I don't. So I feel like Vettori's got him beat out everywhere he wants it. If he wants to stand and strike with him, he's going to out-volume him. He's going to beat him. He's going to push him backwards towards the cage. If he clinches up with him, I feel like he's the more active guy. If he wants to take him down and ground and pound him, I feel like he can do that. If he gets taken down, he's good enough to get back up to his feet. If this thing goes 15, he's got the cardio to do it. If he beats him sometime in the first or second round, great. He's not really the most potent finisher, so that one I don't see as being like the most likely outcome. Probably more of a decision kind of performance. But again, the way Dolidze fights, it's kill or be killed. Yeah, maybe he goes out on his shield and allows Marvin Vettori to pull something. But yeah, minus 270 doesn't sound great. It isn't great money line pricing wise, but yeah, some of these favorites you're going to have to trust. We can't just not trust anybody ever again because we've been burnt in the past. I get it. Got to pull the trigger on some guys. At 270, I don't think the price tag's all that bad. I feel like Marvin Vettori gets the win here.
I think Marv wins. I think Marv wins by decision. I'm interested. The only question is, like, does he avoid it? But like the 1.5 takedowns on Prize Picks, that looks pretty ripe. Like, he doesn't even necessarily have to spend his whole game plan trying to get takedowns. Maybe just like secure the end of rounds by getting a takedown. Now that's me hoping Marv does the really smart thing. And like, I love Marv. I think he's pretty hilarious character, but I don't know if he's the sharpest tool in the shed. But yeah, Marv decision is like minus 120 out there. Definitely has my interest. Dolidze's never been finished. Marv is kind of, I mean, Marv could fight at range in this fight and probably triple him up on strikes. Like, Dolidze is a very, very, it's a kill or not even be killed. He hasn't been killed in any of his MMA fights, but his volume is so low that it's like somebody's just an elite fighter should be able to do what Jack Hermansson did and extend it over the course of 15 minutes. So, yeah, I'm with you. Vettori by decision definitely has my interest this week. We got Jack Shore taking on Makwan Amirkhani. Speaking of somebody who cannot fight 15 minutes. Jack Shore, a minus 500 favorite. Makwan can be had for plus 270. I mean, Shore moving up to 145 here after getting absolutely killed by Ricky Simon. I was pretty surprised by Ricky Simon's performance there. That guy's really came a long way. Really made it look easy against Shore. Maybe Shore had a really bad cut because now he's up at 145 here. It's going to be dicey in round one because Makwan can cause some problems. He's got a lot of skills, but the guy's cardio falls off of a cliff. I'm going to pick Jack Shore here. But at minus 500, it's like I don't really think there's much meat on the bone pre-flop. The hope is that you get out of round one and then you get like more of like a minus 200 type of situation on Jack Shore. So Shore will be the pick for me. But yeah, if it goes to decision, it could be pretty greasy. And I haven't looked it up yet, but Shore late props could be a money maker this week. I'll look it up while you break down the rest of the fight there, Code.
Yeah, this one again also does feel a little bit trappy, but what you can fall back on is Makwan Amirkhani is just a one-round guy, and you've seen it in the last 2 weeks now. These guys that are good one-round fighters, they've been falling off the cliff pretty hard, and the live bet has definitely been on the table. So either he does what he normally does in victory, which is get a first round, maybe mid to late second round submission victory, or he's going to fall apart. I'm feeling the latter is going to happen. I don't think he's going to consistently get takedowns. If he does get the takedowns, Jack Shore is going to make him work. That's the thing with Makwan Amirkhani. He doesn't like to work for a prolonged period. The thing is that he can get takedowns on pretty much whoever. Like, he was a high-level finish wrestler. If you match him up against another strong wrestler, you're not going to have no success. If you match him up with somebody that is, a little bit vulnerable, he'll get some easy takedowns. He'll get some early takedowns, certainly. And when I look at Jack Shore, he gave up a couple takedowns to Timur Valiev, and he gave up those takedowns to Ricky Simon. Obviously, both guys being at 130 pounds. So Makwan Amirkhani at 145 pounds early, the takedown should be on the table. Once he gets the fight to the ground, what happens is guys immediately just want to explode and get back up. You don't want to give up time. He doesn't feel all that strong. So you try to explode back up, and when you do, you give up your neck. That's what he latches onto. So again, seeing Jack Shore not only just lose for the first time, seeing Jack Shore get taken down, seeing Jack Shore get submitted, does make you wonder that maybe if Makwan Amirkhani got a good bite on the neck, could he maybe not grab onto a anaconda, darce, guillotine choke, something of that nature early in that first round live? And because it's live for the straight up money line play on Jack Shore, it does feel a little bit trappy. Not so much, but I think you've seen the blueprint written up on Makwan Amirkhani, which is extend this guy and make him work. And that's what I love about Jack Shore. He's tough, durable for the most part, and he generally makes you work. It's high work rate type fights. So if Makwan Amirkhani does not submit him in the first round, which of course is like a low percentage chance, not low percentage chance like it's not going to happen, low as in on the probability scale, yeah, it could happen, but not the most likely outcome. I would say the most likely outcome is Jack Shore and him fighting a competitive first round. He tires him out. Second round, he's going to have to start carrying Jack Shore's weight. This fight stays standing. Makwan Amirkhani, other than some rinky-dink kicks from the outside, doesn't really have anything to fall back on. Shore should just be able to walk him down. The thing is when you fight a game plan, which is evade, kick, evade, score a couple takedowns, and who knows what happens if it hits the scorecard. So Jack Shore's got to fight with a sense of urgency, tire this man out, really beat him definitively, get the decision victory and walk away. Or like you said, a late round finish. I can see it. Makwan Amirkhani's had durability issues purely when he gets gassed out. And you saw that in his last fight with Jonathan Pierce. That was the worst he ever looked because Even though he got a few takedowns, he just couldn't do nothing with it. And he got massively tired the more he had to grapple, and massively tired the more he had to exchange with him in all of these, constant movements, constant explosions, constant scrambles. There's just nothing left be desired. Jack Shore's got the kind of cardio to replicate that same game plan. But at this money line, it's like, I don't want to just hope he's made those corrections. I don't want to just hope he's better at 145. I don't want to just hope it was just some bad weight cut. I don't got to worry about it. Like, I got to see some results first. So I don't feel super confident about it. But instead of flipping and taking the dog here, I will go with Jack Shore.
And I would hope that there's better options on Jack Shore round 3 out there, because the only book that has it is like plus 500. And you don't make any money betting round 3 props at plus 500. Like, you need wider props than that. The book that opens these things tends to be pretty stingy. I can't really blame them. I do see some people have moved in, and I don't hate that look. If you were going to go down the Makwan route, round 1 sub for Makwan, it moved from plus 850 to plus 750. So obviously some people are taking the shot. It's probably a lot of Makwan's win probability is in that first round. But yeah, we both like Shore, but we hate minus 500. Probably a better live entry. All right, we got Omar Morales taking on Chris Duncan, minus 110 on both sides. Who you got?
I feel like I want to lean towards Omar Morales. I feel like him at his best is going to be able to fight a sound game plan. You stand his ground, counter punch, land that one big shot, and hopefully put Chris Duncan away. But yeah, that's him at his best, and he just doesn't fight. He doesn't throw enough. You know me, we do the show every week. We've been friends for over a decade. We've been talking fights for over a decade. I like volume. Even if you're not the biggest power puncher, you got to be able to go and outwork your opponent. And I don't see it out of Omar Morales. There's no real sense of urgency. He just kind of stands there and allows it to happen. He dropped down to 145 briefly. And here's a guy that had big power at 55. On the regional scene, he dices dudes at 55. On the Contender Series, big knockout at 155. In the UFC after that, for the most part, it's he doesn't show any power. And now he's not showing no power and no volume. What are you really doing? He allows himself to just sit on the outside and get chopped up. His fight with Giga Chikadze, I give him a pass because it's Giga Chikadze, but he never engaged him. He sat there. He allowed himself to get kicked at distance. He got dropped, seriously hurt Kabad a couple times in that fight, perseveres. But you give him a pass because it's a world-class opponent. His fight with Shane Young, it's just a very low volume performance against a guy that's had very little success in the UFC. In fact, no success in the UFC. I think he won one fight. It's a low-level performance at 145. Omar Morales, no volume. The next two are the same thing. Jonathan Pierce takes him down 6 times, ragdolls him, but at least Jonathan Pierce is a top guy. And then that last fight with Uros Medic, he goes back to 155. He proceeds to throw no punches, and he'd never been knocked out. He'd never been, finished. He was a guy that at least had that durability. Uros Medic, of all people, who's kind of herky-jerky, just plows him one in the second round, knocks him out. Nice shot. But how does Omar come back from that? Because he's not young. This is a man that's 37 years old, okay? Young in terms of he hasn't really fought that much in the UFC, but 37 years old. He tried 45, didn't work out. Back to 55, not working out. The volume's not there. The power's not there. What could you possibly like about this guy? Well, what I like about this guy is Chris Duncan just seems to find getting punched in the face. Mm-hmm. You could throw the punch 10 feet to the left, and he could be 10 feet to the right, and it's going to hit him. This guy is just there to get hit, man. And when you watch his fight with Vyacheslav Borchev on the Contender Series, he gets murdered. For the record, he was, they say only slight favorite. I remember, the book being kind of high up on him, but Duncan gets smoked by Borchev. It was like a nasty KO, right? He stood in front of him. He got hit by everything that was thrown. On the regional scene, he could get away with it. Now that you're taking on a decent power puncher, can't get away with it. And his last fight against Charlie Campbell, again, second appearance on the Contender Series, he's getting whopped, man. He is getting his ass kicked. And then he pulls it out. He makes it happen for himself. That's just, how could you get behind that against Omar Morales? Because even though Omar's not all that good, he is out of Killcliff FC, formerly, the home of the Black Zillions. He does have some of the best training partners in the game. He does got Henry Hoof. Sure to God that they've watched tape on Chris Duncan. Sure to God that they'll have a game plan that involves around this dude's going to come after you. He's going to try to out-volume you because Duncan's got the volume advantage. Duncan he's going to throw his hands a little more. He's going to throw kicks a little bit more. So that game plan of just sitting and waiting for that one big punch, it's not been working for Omar Morales. But I'll be damned if it might not work right here. It could work, right? Sit, wait for the right punch, hurt Duncan. And then what often happens with these guys that have that big power but don't throw is as soon as they do get you hurt, it turns on for them. And like, oh shit, I got him hurt. They'll pounce. That's what he needs to do here. Show some aggression, pounce, backs up against the wall. UFC likely cuts him if he loses. Show some sense of urgency. And if he does, he's got the power, I think, to clip Duncan and put him away. So I don't want to bet this thing. Of course, if you try to make a 15-fight parlay, it's going to end up on the parlay at some point. But I think it's way not at the bottom. It's not the PRP pick, but it's probably going to be on the second last line. And it's going to be Omar Morales.
Yeah, Omar Morales for me as well for a lot of the same points. Like I don't think Chris Duncan is UFC caliber. Not that UFC caliber really means the same thing these days, but wasn't very impressed with much of what he did on the Contender Series. He's a brawler, and Omar Morales used to be super, super durable. That was kind of one of the things that went about him after obviously getting knocked out against Euros Medic last time out. Maybe there's some questions there. But yeah, better training camp. The only question is, like, if this goes to a decision, definitely super, super greasy because the fans are obviously going to be behind, Scottish Chris Duncan in this spot. And Omar Morales, I don't know if he's the greatest finisher, but it should be fireworks. It's probably relatively right at a pick'em type of price. Omar Morales for me as well. We got Sam Patterson taking on Yanal Ashmoz. Minus 270 for Patterson, plus 230 for Ashmoz. Who you got?
I guess Sam Patterson, but like you got to watch the weigh-ins on this one for no other reason than how comical it is seeing Sam Patterson against pretty much anybody in the sport at 155 pounds. He's 6'3", man. He's 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. Effectively, he's going to have a 10-inch reach advantage over Yanal Ashmoz. And whereas being tall obviously has its advantages, the disadvantage would be getting taken down, having guys fight on the inside. And I'm not going to lie, Sam Patterson fights super tall, like up in the air. He'll let you on the inside. He'll let you in on his hips to shoot. But damn, this boy can kind of do it all. He's got a nasty front choke. He's got a good guillotine. He's long. He's rangy. He actually does brawl well from tight quarters, despite the fact that he's got such long arms. I think he moves quite well. One of the Fight Network properties, Invicta FC, obviously, but one of the other shows that we play is Brave CF, Combat Federation. And Sam Patterson's the man over there. He kicks a lot of ass, so very familiar with him. He's fought an excellent level of competition, okay? Felipe Silva is a UFC veteran, knocks him out in the first round. Yves Dejour is honestly a very solid, credible veteran from France. And again, it's a good workman, unanimous decision. Kamil Magomedov chokes him out in the second round. This Kunkar Pashev Gamasev punches him out in the second round. Vinicius Sensi, his last time out, submits him in the second round. He's super well-rounded, man. He can strike. He can grapple. He's got good cardio. I really do like what I see out of Sam Patterson. I think he was a solid signing by the UFC. Obviously, once he won the Contender Series, shows you that he can handle it, signs the contract, and then thinks this is going to be not a coming out party for him, but a good, solid UFC debut. Ashmoz, 6'0", 5'9". He's going to try to get on the inside. It seems like he can wrestle. It seems like he can brawl. The thing is that his wrestling is not elite. His takedowns aren't all that good. Could I see him getting Sam Patterson down? Possibly, but I think he's going to fight way too hard to have to get it. Once he does get the fight to the ground, I believe he is a BJJ black belt. But again, grappling not good enough, I don't think, to hold Patterson down for a prolonged period. Grappling not good enough to just pick up a flash submission. What is going to happen is he's either going to take a beating trying to get to the inside, or he's going to get to the inside after a beating, take him down, and all that work is going to be outdone by Sam Patterson returning to his feet and then putting it on him again. So I actually do like Sam Patterson. The tricky situation here, though, is that he's a minus 270 favorite in his UFC debut. That's not something I love getting myself into, just because you're going to get jitters, you're going to get all these different things. He's not really he's experienced on the Brave Combat Federation circuit, but he's not experienced at the highest level. But man, what has Ashmoz got? A PFL Challenger Series fight where he fought Dennis Hughes to a decision? Like, come on. I think Sam Patterson's fought leaps and bounds better guys, putting on better performances. Could be one of these guys that wins, doesn't win every single exchange, doesn't win every single minute of the round, but I think ultimately does get the win. Is going to be higher up on the tickets this week. But again, 270 You should feel great about it. The reality is, don't want him on the top ticket because it's a UFC debut. Second ticket, maybe, but in all likelihood, probably third ticket just because of those unknowns. Ashmoz undefeated, probably does get a takedown or two, I would think. I just think at the end of the day, Patterson's the rightful winner.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I mean, I was looking for an underdog in this spot and watched his PFL fight, and Ashmov's PFL fight, and really, I didn't see all that much there. It seems pretty clear why he's here. He's somebody to try to add another star in the UK in front of the fans. I didn't see too much from Ashmov, who's giving up, as you said, tons of size. Like, Patterson's absolutely enormous. There is some action coming in on Ashmov right now, but it won't be me. Patterson's the pick, but minus 270. No, thank you. All right, we got Mohamed Mokaev taking on Jafel Filho, minus 800 for Mokaev, plus 550 for Filho. I mean, Mokaev got tested against Malcom Gordon last time out. Like, he's obviously a young, promising prospect with great takedown abilities. And the improvements are going to consistently, we're going to see more and more improvements from this guy. Like, I think he's solid. I've decided, I don't think I actually even did it against Malcom Gordon, but I've decided I'm going to stop fading. Like, I did it against Durden, and I looked like a complete moron for doing it. It's like, I'm going to stop stepping in front of the train, particularly with Jafel Filho here, because Filho was on Contender Series. I faded Johnny and was on his opponent, and that was a really, 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 really close fight for most of it. I wasn't very impressed by what he brought to the table. But mine is 800. I mean, what are we really supposed to do with it at this point with Mokaev? Mokaev will be the pick. I have no idea how to bet this fight, though. What about you?
Yeah. How do you approach it, right? Mokaev wins the fight minus 800. Can't bet it money. Can't bet it on a straight ticket. Okay, well, do you add it to parlays? Yeah, sure. But, like, at what point do you add it? At what point does it add the value to your parlays? And what is the risk reward point? Like, how much does he add for the fact that if you watch the Brave fights, right, he looked awful against Blaine and Driscoll, but he wins. So now it's like, ooh, I think I could fade this guy. And yeah, the last fight with Malcom Gordon, he looked like he was about to lose, and then boom, third round armbar. It was 1-1. Like, he wins the first round, just doesn't look great doing it, but wins the first round. Second round, yeah, he gives up some bad spots, right? He can slip up. He can get out grappled. I don't think when you think about these cast iron Dagestani Russians, these Chechnyan Russians, these Ingushetnia Russians, these mountain folk from northern Essentia that are going to absolutely beat the crap out of you. Cardio's got to be like one of those things. You got to just be able to go forever. They can wrestle. We know they can wrestle, but chain wrestling requires, a lot of energy, and you've got to be able to do it for 15 full minutes. Mokaev's thing is he's born there. He's from there. He has that. It's just, he's been living in the UK. He's been living in England. So how many training partners are pushing him? How much did he switch to the European level instead of just like the all Russian level? How much can he keep it up? Malcom Gordon fight, he looked lost at times. He looked tired at times. He looked like he's very much in a lot of vulnerable spots. Think about how young this kid is. God damn. He can make all the mistakes in the world because he's young. He's learning on the job. And I would say that you learn a whole lot from fighting Malcom Gordon. The fight before that, he takes down Charles Johnson like 9 times, 10 times, beats Charles Johnson. For the record, Charles Johnson pretty good and excellent at getting back up to his feet. Malcom Gordon should have been a walk in the park, but Malcom Gordon's still a savvy veteran with decent enough kickboxing, terrible chin, but decent enough kickboxing credentials and a legitimate BJJ black belt. So in some ways, he tests him. What does the kid do? He submits the legitimate BJJ black belt. So kudos to him. When I see this fight against Jafel Filho, I don't know what Jafel Filho has to present that the other guys didn't. Like, his takedown defense isn't as good as prior Mokaev opponents. I think he's getting taken down. Charles Johnson's getting taken down. Filho is getting taken down. In terms of him off his back, from the tape that I've seen, I don't think he's got enough of a submission game off his back to catch him clean in something. And so could he win a striking exchange? Sure. Could he win a prolonged striking exchange? Maybe. But is Mokaev going to just strike with him all night? No, the kid's going to shoot. He's going to shoot. So the $1 million question is, Filho going to stuff the takedowns? And I don't think he's going to. Mm-hmm. So as you're saying, how do we approach this thing? Minus 800. Well, what's the most likely prop that probably going to happen here? It seems like Filho could get submitted. I don't think his submission defense is great. Mokaev's obviously going to be attacking with chokes. He's going to be attacking the arm. He's going to be attacking all the way through the fight. But I think I want to say Filho is going to be able to defend. He defended a couple submission attempts by Roybert on the Contender Series. Not that Roybert's, some grappling wizard, but I feel like he's competent enough to get out grappled, but not necessarily get submitted. And with Mokaev, he needs ring time. He doesn't need these quick finishes. And I think he's starting to realize that he needs to fight a little more composed. He's getting a little more mature. So if I had to gun to my head, pick a prop, I'm feeling like Mokaev by decision. But that being said, he flying knees Cody Durden in the face and, grabs the neck and, does fight a little bit reckless at times. He just come off a win over a black belt by third round armbar in a position that it looked like he was about to end up with Gordon on top of him and boom, he snatches up an armbar. So he's going to make mistakes, but the problem is that he's still going to be dangerous the entire fight. And so I don't like betting prop bets like that, decision prop bets on guys that are going to be fighting hard the entire time. And because he's so young, it's not going to be crazy to think that he's not going to develop rapidly and get a lot better fight to fight. So Mokaev is just going to have to be straight up added to the parlays. Again, at his price point, you would think first top 2 tickets, I just don't know if it adds enough. So he'll be on there at some point. I just don't know where. Not at the top because he's not the most trustworthy guy going, but fairly at the top because I think this is a good winnable fight for him.
Yeah, Mokaev by submission is like plus 100 out there. It's obviously very, very limited in terms of the number of books offering props. And then him inside the distance can be had for like minus 130. So it's one of those spots that's like, don't chase the prop at plus 100 when it could be one of those types of situations where he tries to get submissions and then goes to mount and like pounds them out. If you were going to go the inside the distance route here. I think he's so young. It's volatile. Minus 800. It's like, it's really tough knowing exactly what to expect from him fight in and fight out. The question becomes, what's this kid like in like 3 or 4 years from now? And I still think that he's going to be pretty talented. But that remains to be seen. We've got Lerone Murphy taking on Gabriel Santos, minus 185 for Lerone Murphy, plus 160 for the former LFA champ. Santos, who's coming in on short notice. You got a hot take here, bud?
No, well, I'd like to just say Lerone Murphy's a legitimate fighter that beats him, and I like Lerone Murphy because all those facts are true. And maybe that he doesn't beat him, that one remains to be seen if it's true, but I really much like Lerone Murphy. Thing is, Lerone Murphy on a 16-month layoff, like I just don't know what's he been up to. Has he been hurt? Is he into it? Is he making progression? Because him at his best, I've always thought he's a pretty talented guy. I tried to take a sniff on him versus Zubair Tukhugov. He was a plus 245 underdog in his UFC debut in the first round. he got beat pretty sadly in the first round. Second and the third round, man, he comes right back. He starts stuffing the takedowns. He moves very nice laterally, good footwork, good kicks. Not the highest output guy, but very precise with his striking. Wins the second and third rounds against Zubair Tukhugov as a huge underdog in his UFC debut, and it settled for a draw. Since then, it's been money, right? Ricardo Ramos, people seem to like that guy. No, way too sloppy, leaves too many openings. Lerone Murphy, first round knockout. Again, very precise with his counter punching. The fight with Douglas D'Andrade. Y'all seen Douglas D'Andrade, the way this guy's cut up. He's a problem for anybody. Simple fact that he's massively jacked. He's got a decent amount of experience. Stands his ground, he swangs and bangs. Lerone Murphy, again, I mean, he's a smart fighter. I think he has high ring IQ. I think he makes the right choices. He's not going to be the most entertaining guy. He's not going to be the biggest fan-friendly, oh my God, I must-see television. But I think he's going to fight the winning strategies and win fights. His fight with Makwan and Amirkhani, nice big knockout. So now he's got 2 knockouts in his last 3 fights, right? Which is impressive. But also, he's fought good level of competition. Makwan and Amirkhani still cutting it. Douglas D'Andrade is a very serviceable veteran. Ricardo Ramos, I don't like him personally, but again, the guy's hacking a job at the UFC, right? Fights some decent enough guys. Missing weight, whatever. I feel like Lerone Murphy is a good fighter. 31 years old. He's not old. It's the 16th month layoff. It's the, he pulls out of the Nate Landwehr fight. I don't know if he's coming in great shape. I don't know if he's made much improvements. And with Gabriel Santos, there's enough unknowns. Hey, he's 10-0. He's a former, LFA champion. He's fought somewhat recently. The bottom line is I like Lerone Murphy. I thought he was a good fighter before the layoff. At 31 years old, I don't think he's washed. I think he's probably still a good fighter. And Zubair Tuhugov, cast iron Russian, decent, solid wrestling. Makwan Amirkhani, former Finnish national champion in wrestling, solid wrestling. He's had to wrestle those guys. Santos is not on the same level. He won't get the takedowns. I think that Murphy just moves laterally, stays out of the way, sticks and moves, lands the more precise shots, and eventually wins the fight. So eventually you're going to have to suffer that first loss, Lerone Murphy or Santos. I think it's going to be Santos picking up his first career loss here. And props to him for making his UFC debut in a week's notice, but this is a tough spot against the hometown English fighter who's on a solid roll and, a decent fighter overall.
I still have to look into Santos, so, I mean, I'm not going to really bore you with a whole bunch of details because I haven't really done the research on it yet, but for the purpose of the show, I'll pick Lerone Murphy, but that could change based on me looking up some tape and actually digging into it. There's 15 fights. It was tough to dig into all of them. We got Christian Duncan taking on Dusko Todorovic, minus 220 for Christian Duncan, plus 185 for Todorovic. I actually started, Cody. I made a bet on Dusko, and then the market actually moved in that direction. So I was like, oh, this looks pretty good. And then I kind of realized, like, pretty much after I hit submit, because I was just like, oh, this is the Duncan guy. And I didn't put weight classes. It didn't really come together. I'm like, I'll beat the line movement, and then I'll make sure it's good afterwards. And then I realized we got a Chris Duncan and a Christian Duncan. And frankly, after watching some tape on Christian Duncan, who is the Cage Warriors champion, this guy actually looks pretty good, and he's been in Thailand working with Phil Haas on his grappling, the striking. Looks like a decent finisher. Dusko, the biggest, and I ended up cashing out of the bet because, I mean, if Dusko eats one big clean shot from this guy who's been spending time down in Thailand, and you know what they say about the guys that are training down in Thailand right now. Shouts to like Aaron Watershow, who I believe he like posted a video or shared a video of how easy it is to get PEDs while you're down there. If you're down there, I don't think USADA spends too much time down there. Dusko's chin is always a massive liability. If Dusko's not able to get the wrestling going here, I think he's taking a canvas nap. I'm going to pick Christian Duncan, who I think actually has some decent potential moving forward. I think grappling can maybe be exploited, but I don't know if Dusko's got the grappling to really exploit him in this spot. And a lot of his other skills seem to be coming together quite nicely. So don't know how I'm going to attack it. Maybe a Christian Duncan by knockout prop can surface. I haven't looked at that yet, but I bet Dusko thinking it was the other Duncan without thinking of like weight classes, and I was just like, okay, back up the bus, reverse. This is good Duncan, I suppose you can say, on the card. So Christian Duncan is the pick for me. What about you?
Yeah, I will actually take the bite on Dusko Todorovic and live to regret it heavily. I'm sure I will because, his chin's usually way up in the air. It's a little bit susceptible to getting hit. Doesn't have great durability. Why would you want to bet him? You probably don't. Your probably best path on this one is pass altogether. But, of course, I've been taking a lot of these favorites, so underdog's going to come through. I feel like Dusko has a decent enough chance. The thing with Christian Duncan, he's a solid athlete. Guy is very, very athletic. He moves very, very nicely. And a lot of his finishes are these athletic moves, flying knees, spinning back kicks, spinning back elbows. Again, quick on his feet, got a lot of power, more than enough firepower to knock out Dusko Todorovic. Thing is if you watch back 2 fights against Dejan Milan, he's given up takedowns, quite a few of them, against a fighter from the Ivory Coast who eventually gasses out, and that's what allows him to knock him out with the flying knee in the 3rd round. But his takedown defense isn't great. I don't think his get-up game is all that great. I feel like someone who's a decent enough grappler could give him a lot of problems. Dusko, not a very good wrestler. He went 0 for 4 in takedowns against Jordan Wright. I just can't imagine he's really all that good of a wrestler. So I don't know that it's going to be as easy as Dusko just takes him down. I feel like Dusko's going to take some damage before he gets him down. And as you mentioned, Dusko probably not going to be able to take said damage before he gets the takedown. So probably does get knocked out. The issue I have is if I look at Christian Duncan, I think he's generally finishing early. He has a lot of big explosive movements. This is his UFC debut. He is at home. He's going to have that nerve. He's going to have that adrenaline dump. If Dusko can get on top of him, he's actually got a pretty decent top game. I believe he's a BJJ black belt, but again, he has a lot of success when he's able to get on top of opponents with his ground and pound, setting up solid positions. And if Duncan's getting taken down on the regional scene in Cage Warriors by Milan, Dusko could get the fight to the ground. If he gets to the fight to the ground, I think he's going to be able to capitalize and do some serious damage. So I guess I'll take that little sniff at the dog here, but this is more of a pass altogether, to be honest with you.
And market's moving against you right now, so you'll probably get a +200, I think, by fight night on Dusty Dusko Todorovic.
I would say fight doesn't go the distance is probably your best bet. I don't know what the price is readily. Maybe you can tell me, but Duncan is a finisher. He likes to finish. He likes to go out and do whatever he can. And Dusko can't take a great shot. Flip side to that, Dusko's a finisher as well. Like, he's got a potent offense. Thing is just like he can't take the return fire.
Yeah, I mean, fight ends inside the distance. The best available right now is -375. So
yeah,
it's -425 juiced from. So people are using it as a parlay piece. It obviously makes sense, but yeah, the books are wise to the fact that Dusko's got no chin. Duncan may have some serious grappling problems here. Should be a banger of a fight, but. Yeah, be very, very cautious. All right, we got Jake Hadley taking on Malcom X Gordon. -400 for Hadley, +300 for Gordon. Who you got here?
Yeah, Hadley inside the distance. I feel like Gordon has durability issues, but if you match him up against soft opposition, then he might be able to exploit them a little bit. The issue with Hadley is that Hadley's got a significant enough boxing advantage that he keeps his fight standing. He's clipping Malcom Gordon and putting him away. Gordon's been able to take down guys with bad takedown defense, but Hadley's got the wrestling advantage here too. Like, he's going to be able to dictate wherever he wants it. If he wants to stand with Gordon, he will, and I think he might clip him and knock him out. If he wants to take Gordon down, ground and pound him, and open up for a submission, you just saw Gordon get submitted by a 20-year-old kid in Mokaev. Gordon's been grappling as long as the kid's been alive and still gets submitted in the third round in a fight that he looks to be on his way to potentially winning. Gives up the submission. So Hadley's going to rough him up, man. This kid's pretty solid. You saw him on the Contender Series, obviously, against Mitch Raposo. Mitch Raposo's solid. He is. Now, Hadley misses weight, gets in a fight with the matchmakers. There's a whole lot of drama, but he delivered in the fight itself. His debut against Alan Nascimento, he loses, but Alan Nascimento is a straight killer, so hard to fault him too much on that one. And then you do see him a much better version against Carlos Candelario. Candelario never been finished. Carlos Candelario, BJJ black belt. Carlos Candelario... It had literally been fighting against top grapplers. He had just went on his fight on the Contender Series. He takes on like a second-degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in Ronaldo Candido, and then he took on Tatsuro Taira, who's an absolute terror for everybody. Went to decision with both of them, and yet Hadley subs him with a triangle choke of all things in the second round. So I think the kid's grappling solid. I think his striking is better than Gordon's. I think his durability is pretty okay. He's fighting at home. Weight cut should be a lot easier than it is when he's traveling stateside, having to fight away from home. I think this has got all the makings for a good coming up party for him. Gordon, meanwhile, serviceable, gatekeeper. If you should be in the UFC, you'll probably knock him out in the first 2 rounds, or submit him in the first 2 rounds. If you, need to go back to the drawing board, yeah, he's going to teach you a lesson. Francisco Figueiredo, fraud. He lost to a guy like Malcom Gordon. Dennis Bondar certainly appeared to be a fraud. Loses to a guy like Malcom Gordon. He's serviceable. He's there for a reason. He's going to give you some hard rounds. He's going to test you. And the guys like Mokaev that still need some testing, he's there for them. Hadley, I think he's a little more refined. I think he's already beaten some better guys. Like, in his last 3 fights have been against better guys. So I feel like this is, a good making for him to go out to getting victory. So flyweights, I don't love betting big money lines on flyweight fights because, again, it's kind of an unpredictable division. But I think Jake Hadley's going to beat everywhere.
Yeah, well, Malcom Gordon is like a black belt in BJJ, but he's been subbed twice in the UFC. Triangle choke loss to Amir Albazi. Obviously against Mokaev, he did based on what the odds were, had a much better showing in that fight. And then obviously got submitted in the last 30 seconds or so. That was that saved probably a whole bunch of Mokaev inside the distance betters that night, because I imagine a lot of people were thinking, super, super chinny. I haven't really seen like the power in the hands from Jake Hadley. Maybe I'm completely missing the boat there. I'm kind of more interested in taking like the plus money side of like fight goes to decision in this fight. I think Hadley wins, and we'll see where the markets go over the course of the week. I may end up on Hadley by decision, which is plus 400 and growing right now. When more books open up, we'll see where that market goes, because I'm not convinced that he's just going to go out there and bomb on him. Like Sumaderji was able to land one, but like Sumaderji hits like a truck. Haven't quite seen it from Hadley outside of like early regional scene type of fights. I think he can grapple, take him down, hold him down at will. I don't know if he's got the same submission skills that I've seen from those other guys. And that kind of was echoed in the Nascimento fight, where he was outmatched by a really, really elite grappler in Nascimento, and that's where he showed some holes in his game. At plus 400, maybe we get a plus 500 based on where the markets are going. Maybe worth a little sprinkle on Hadley, who's at home. Anything close will probably go to him. That's probably where my money will go if I attack this fight. We got Joanne Wood taking on Luana Carolina. Joanne dropped the Calder. Is a minus 170 favorite. Luana Carolina can be had for plus 150. I thought Joanne Wood retired last time, which leads me to believe that if she didn't retire last time, this is 100% a retirement fight. On Prize Picks, they've got promo code DOP. They got 65 or 63.5 significant strikes. Love that prop. That's like my favorite prop this week. I think that this fight goes 15 minutes, and when formerly Joanne Calderwood, goes the full 15, it's like she gets way, way, way over 63.5 significant strikes. I'll pick her to win. I'll pick her to win by decision, but that's not exactly a super, super sharp play by any stretch of the imagination. The over in this fight is juiced to minus 350. Like, that's like the most expected outcome. But yeah, on Prize Picks, over 63.5 seems pretty easy. Luana Carolina, 89 significant strikes against Molly McCann. Joanne Wood, at her best times, would get up close to like 150 significant strikes. Seems like 63.5 is a very, very manageable amount for her. I'll pick her to win by decision, but we talked about it earlier, Cody. We're probably avoiding a lot of these types of spots because it could be a very, very, very close decision, and I don't want to get my hand caught in the cookie jar. What's your take here?
Yeah, boom, exactly, 100%. So just like we've been talking about, don't want to bet these spots. Learn my lesson. Should pass on this altogether. And like the smallest part of me early was like, you know what? Why not take that dog shot on Luana Carolina if you're going to have to pick one side of it? Joanne Calderwood, an elite competitor, but yeah, 37 years old, 1-4 in her last 5 fights, riding on the wall. I'm not that interested anymore. Never won a fight as Joanne Wood. She's won a bunch of fights as Calder would, but winless is dropping the Calder part of her name. Yeah, I just don't know that she's all that interested anymore. Her body's breaking down a little bit. She's prone to making these lapses in judgments in fights. Her grappling was never elite. She spent a whole lot of time working on it, but you can see she just never gets over the hump when taking on elite level grapplers. But this is Luana Carolina. She's not an elite level grappler. She's not an elite level anything. Not striking. She's not super physical. She's not very experienced. She's not, a young up and comer on the up and up. She's just kind of, again, serviceable. So I think if Joanne Wood was going to go out and win a fight, this is probably the one. It's very easy to say, oh, she's only won one fight in her last 5. It's very easy to see, oh, she's on a 3-fight losing streak. But I mean, come on. She loses to Alexa Grasso, who's current number 1 girl in the division and the champion. She loses to Taylor Santos, who's a top 3 girl in the division, former title challenger. Her fight with Lauren Murphy, I don't know how she lost that fight. Like, she outstruck her like 123-80, split decision. I really thought she won, but all the same, like, Lauren Murphy's a former title challenger. She only fights the best girls going. So in that regard, yeah, the results haven't necessarily been there, but she's been somewhat competitive. She was outstriking Alexa Grasso. She was, looking good in some spots, and then eventually just makes that one mistake. Against Carolina, I just don't see it happening. Luana Carolina is giving up takedowns at will to Molly McCann. If Joanne Wood wants this fight to the ground, she can get to the ground. Her wrestling is good enough to get Carolina down. If she doesn't want to take it to the ground, again, she's got the volume. She's got that traditional European Muay Thai, a Scottish Muay Thai champion, someone that spent basically her entire youth doing Muay Thai. She's got long, nasty, rangy kicks up the middle, good teep, good front kicks, good distant finders, but at the same time, will throw a decent right hand behind it as well. And I feel like Luana Carolina has that rangy Muay Thai game as well. She's got long limbs. She likes to throw more of a volume-based attack, but against Joanne Wood, she's just, more technical, better, more experienced. She's better all around. The one thing with Wood, though, is that, again, to go back to durability, I don't think she's someone that enjoys getting hit all that much. She's been hit a ton in her career, in her Muay Thai career, in her MMA career, and you've seen at times when she gets hit, she'll kind of not close her eyes and back up, but just she's not really readily engaging her opponent anymore. And one has to wonder at 37, like you said, you thought she retired last fight. Well, she didn't retire last fight. Well, maybe this is the retirement fight. And once you get thinking about that retirement fight, it's already over for you. And I do feel like she's very much at that point. Her husband, John Wood, he's one of the top coaches over in Las Vegas. No doubt she's got a prosperous career as a trainer and as a mentor for a lot of these young fighters in Las Vegas. She's taken some time off in between camps. Her weight is ballooned up and down. That's not a disrespect to her in the slightest bit. I just don't know that she's fully committed to being that young, hungry fighter that she once was. So someone is going to clip her on the up and up. But seeing how bad Carolina's takedown defense was, seeing her, the Ariana Lipski fight before Lipski got good, like the physicality that she just lacks, seriously lacks. She's there to get beaten. So I will have to take Joanne Wood reluctantly. Not reluctantly because I don't want to, reluctantly because I know as soon as I bet an women's MMA spot, I'm likely screwed. The good fortunes are not on my side when it comes to the old WMMA.
Yeah, and the last thing I will say about this fight is it may be tempting to try to increase your Joanne Wood exposure to Joanne Wood by decision, but she's like minus 170 to win straight up, and then she's minus 135 to win by decision. So it's like, you look at the Molly McCann fight against Luana Carolina, you look at the Lipski fight, not that Wood has that type of grappling, but it's like you see enough holes in the game that's like if you're going to attack Joanne Wood, I would stick to the money line. It's just there's not enough meat on the bone on that decision, and you'll have your butt puckered potentially over the course of 15 minutes if you do. And you'll be asking yourself for 15 minutes, just like, why didn't I just take the money line? Like, I've been in that spot so many times. Sounds like we're both picking Wood, but we're very, very tentative in that pick. We got Ludovic Klein taking on Jai Herbert. Ludovic Klein, a minus 200 favorite. Herbert can be had for plus 170. I was hoping on PrizePicks that they would have Klein takedowns listed because I thought that would be pretty ripe. Like they'd probably list it at like 1.5 takedowns. And I think the Mike Trezano game plan is what he brings to the table in this spot. Jai Herbert, last time out, Kyle Nelson. Everyone's betting the unders. Nelson hits hard. Jai Herbert doesn't have a great chin, but he can crack too. Nelson gasses. And then Herbert shows up and says, I need to keep my job. Loses round 1, fights at distance for rounds 2 and 3, squeaks by on a decision victory, which I believe he got a little bit of home cooking in that one. Herbert's got, he's very, very long, got good reach. Durability is a big question. And I think his takedown defense is a big question. Klein can probably hang out at range and strike with him, but he'd be much, much wiser. There's a guy who used to fight at 145, and I guess they both fought at 145, and now they're up at 1. But I've been impressed by what I've seen with Ludovic Klein as he's grown into that 155-pound frame. I think he utilizes the wrestling early and often here, and comes away like decision is really tough with Herbert because Francisco Masaranduba landed one clean one and absolutely put him out. But Klein by decision, somewhat of a snooze fest. Takedowns, holds top control, and wins the fight like the Trezano fight, that would probably be how I see this fight playing out. What about you?
Yeah, I'm thinking Klein by knockout, to be honest with you. Like when you watch tape of him on the regional scene prior to coming to the UFC, like this dude is nasty. He's got a beautiful head kick, beautiful straight left down the pipe, a solid power, and is most definitely a finisher. Signs to the UFC, gets Shane Young. Shane Young's no slouch. Shane Young's fought some decent guys, and he just smokes him out of the water, minute 16 seconds, like, beautiful coming out party. Thing is that now they fast track the kid. And he's super young at the time, right? They fast track him. The fight with Mike Trezano, he could have won that fight. In fact, I think a lot of judges probably would have given him that fight. He gets 4 takedowns. He was competitive. Just unfortunately, gets hustled up a little bit. His fight with Nate Landwehr, dude, it's Nate the Train. Nate the Train just breaks guys down, comes forward. At this point, though, he's still only like 26, 27 years old. Like, I feel like he's still getting the hang of it. He trains with the best guys in the sport. He trains at the highest level of sport. I feel like he's starting to figure it out. It's just fighting tough competition. And you've seen that in his last 2, Devontae Smith, Mason Jones. Didn't look great against Devontae Smith, got the job done. Mason Jones fight, that's the best he's ever looked. Looks solid all around. The striking looked good. He knocked down Mason Jones. He's still got that power. He's still very dynamic. He's very athletic. His cardio is getting better. His wrestling is improving. The kid's getting more comfortable. The kid's getting more experience. He's going to get back to his winning ways. Well, he's winning, but he's going to get back to his solid winning ways where he's going to start knocking some guys out. Now, he's 5'7". He's taking on opponents that's 6'1", which, on paper, it's like, oh, damn, dude, that's a lot of size to be given up. But keep in mind, he was supposed to fight Ignacio Bahamondes. Ignacio Bahamondes is like the biggest guy in the division. He's an absolute giant. I think Ludovic Klein is very athletic. I think Ludovic Klein likes fighting these taller guys because he's able to find those gaps in the guard and shoot straight up the middle. The best way to fight those tall guys is not to throw looping shots because they're longer than you. The jab is going to beat you to the punch. It's firing straight up the middle, literally. And I feel like that he's a better linear fighter. And I feel like he's going to put something right up the middle and knock out Jay Herbert. Jay Herbert fought Trinaldo, who's a short little guy who stood in his face the entire time. No ability to use the jab. No the ability to keep him off of you. Doesn't use his kicks as distance finders and able to keep your opponent at bay. Doesn't use it. Doesn't fight a tall man game. And Trinaldo walks through the guard, knocks him out. The Ilia Topuria fight, same thing. Topuria, much shorter fighter, but aggressive. Stays in his face. Comes at him. He hurts Topuria in the first round, doesn't put him away. Second round, Topuria just walks right through him and knocks him out with that big shot. I got a feeling that Klein puts him away. So money line, sure, yeah, I'll bet Ludovic Klein. In terms of the prop, yeah, his last 2 fights have been decisions. And yeah, the guy's wrestling a little bit more. And yeah, you might just take him down and hold him down. And I think this has got the recipe for a highlight reel KO for Ludovic Klein over a, durability suspect on Jay Herbert.
Yeah. I mean, the price on that prop right now, and obviously we do this on a Wednesday. A lot of books don't open up those props until like Thursday, some even like Friday. They're actually 100% equal. They're both plus 225, so pick your poison, I suppose. Finally, we got Juliana, the Killer Miller, taking on Veronica Hardy, formerly Veronica Macedo. Married Dan Hardy, who this is probably, I feel like this one's got Cody Greasy Theory written all over it. So I'm just going to let you take this one away.
Yeah, well, Greasy Theory, Dan Hardy, not a good guy. I don't know what the relationship, where they met, probably at a UFC fight, they get married. Dan Hardy's all about breaking down techniques. And imagine living with this guy, as irritable as he is to begin with. Like, is he coaching her now? Is he helping breaking down spots in Juliana Miller's game? Like, I don't know. But it's not just me that's had bad experiences with Dan Miller. It's not just 95% of the people that interact with Dan Hardy that have had bad experiences with him. Yeah, he rubs everyone at the UFC wrong, so they release him from his contract. Surprise, surprise, no other major company has gone running to his services. No Bellator, no PFL. I think they came and he was a little guest judge. I don't think anybody's clamoring for his breakdowns. I'm sure he's got a podcast somewhere that does 37 times the numbers that my podcast does. So he's obviously cooler than me. No one's questioning that. They're questioning just like, what's the relevancy of Dan Hardy? I don't think he's relevant at all. And I think the UFC does not like him. I don't think they're going to give Veronica Hardy the easiest fight at the gate. So she's Juliana Miller, a former Ultimate Fighter champion, a girl that's got a big grappling advantage, is a lot bigger than her, probably gets this fight to the ground, once this fight gets to the ground. Macedo's just been extremely susceptible to pretty much everybody that's taken her to the ground. So, it's there for the taking. Here's the thing, though. Juliana Miller can't strike. Her striking is abysmal. Mm-hmm. So, women's MMA, Paul, these big favorites are going to get in trouble because they're one-dimensional fighters. And in this case, Miller needs the takedown. She needs to get this fight to the ground. If she doesn't get this fight to the ground, extremely plausible she gets beat up from the outside. Now, when you listen to interviews from her, she's out there. She's obviously, very, I don't know if hippie's the word to call her, but like she's out there, right? She's a different kind of girl. She's very confident and like, oh yeah, my striking's great. I'll stand with her. No, your striking's not great. Don't stand with her. She fights the proper game plan. I think this fight ends up on the ground. Most fights end up on the ground, and Miller's got a significant advantage there. So maybe Miller by submission. But if Miller decides to, work on her new profound striking, if Miller gets the awe of, oh shit, I'm used to fighting in the Apex. I'm used to fighting in front of no fans. I'm used to fighting in small little, regional promotions. Now I'm in England on a pay-per-view. There's a ruckus roar of the crowd. Is she not going to try to throw down? Is she not going to just maybe make a mental lapse? Is she not going to maybe not fight the best game plan for a massive favorite? Yeah, all possible. But yeah, I can't get behind Hardy. Hardy to me has just always been a 115er fighting at 135, right? Loses to Ashley Evans Smith, undersized at 135. Lost to Andrea Lee, got taken down, ragdolled. Lost to Jillian Robertson, taken down and ragdolled. Beat Polyana Viana with an armbar. That one never made any sense to me because Viana is like a high-level BJJ black belt. But that's women's MMA in a nutshell, okay? Yep. One girl can't grapple, okay? One girl's a BJJ world champion. And it's an armbar from Gar.
In the first
From
minute.
the girl that can't grapple. Yeah, in the first minute 3 seconds into the round. Like, oh shit, maybe she does know something. She's a Taekwondo black belt. She actually moves really good. Good on Dan Hardy because she's an absolute dime piece. So he's obviously doing quite well for himself. Better than little Cody. But at the end of the day, like the grappling is going to be the issue, armbar or not. Miller probably beats her. But that being said, like logic just gets thrown out the window in a lot of these fights. So as much as I like Miller's my kind of gal. She's going to make a lot of mistakes in there. And you see it in all of her fights. She's green, improving, learning. But by her own account, she's been training MMA for like 2-3 years. So there will be mistakes to be made. And Hardy, you probably got to go to bed every night with Dan being like, look how she digs the underhook. And then she's like, oh my God, why did I marry this guy? I thought he had a ton of money and he was in the good graces of everybody. And, he fought Georges St. Pierre. Is he not super wealthy? No? Ah, shit. What can you do when you live in a shoe, Paul? What can you do? So, yeah, I got to go with Juliana Miller. But again, like minus 450 screams big favorite, and we're confident and we love it, and it's going to be up there. And she may go in there and look like a minus 10,000 favorite. She could go in there and be this week's JJ Aldrich. So, again, just total buyer beware.
I'm picking Miller as well. Hardy is surprisingly still only 27. She was very young, so she took 3 years off, did a whole bunch of broadcasting. She did some shows with Robin Black and I forget Aries Fighting Championship or something like that. She's been doing broadcasting for these years, and then obviously she's back here for this spot here. It's all a little bit puzzling, I suppose. Going from Bia Malecki, who is like 6'1", and fighting,
pounds.
145 pounds, and being. Literally having a straw weight frame, 5'4", 64-inch reach. Like she's had a very, very strange career, interesting career. I don't know where her motivation is. This is like one of those fights where it's like, we owe you a fight. We still have a fight under contract. She comes out here and lays an egg. I don't know. Has she been really training while she's been doing all of this broadcasting? I'm sure she's been putting in some work, but it's like there's a lot of question marks, and we know that Juliana Miller is putting in the work every single day. The minus 450 kind of scares me to no end. Don't get me wrong, but I think she rolls. Like I was impressed by what she's like in terms of like her tenacity in those grappling exchanges against Brogan Walker Sanchez last time out. I see more upside from a prospect standpoint from Juliana Miller. But yeah, Hardy still only being 27 is like very, very puzzling to me. So we'll see. I mean, we're going to find out. We're going to find out real early during this card here. Because obviously this is in the UK, so this card should start like 4 or 5 hours earlier than normal times. Haven't looked at the actual confirmed start time for the card, but I guess we'll find that out on Saturday.
Yeah, I gotta work KSW at 1 p.m. and KSW starts at 2 p.m. So sadly, I'll be watching both concurrently. But oh well, whatever. There's worse problems to have in this life. Yeah, 15 fights. It'd be going way after it's done. So don't gotta worry about that.
PRP kid, hit us with it.
Okay, looks chalky this week, no doubt. But again, if we can just keep the apple pie shitters to the bottom end, that's going to be the key. I don't care if I only get 2-3 tickets right. I got to make sure I get the best fighters of those 2-3 tickets. We are going to go with Kamaru Usman. We're going to go Rafael Fiziev. I'm going to take Bryan Barberena for the sake of having a dog pick on this show. That could change. Keep in mind that could change. And if it's Bryan Barberena, he is the PRP pick, the 15th guy at the bottom. Keep that in mind. I'm going to go Jennifer Maia. That's going to be dog number 2. We're going to take Marvin Vettori, Jack Shore, Omar Morales. That's an even money pick. Sam Patterson, Muhammad Mokaev, Lerone Murphy, Dusko Todorovic, dog number 3. Don't love it, but that is dog number 3. I'm going to go Jake Hadley, Joanne Wood, Ludovic Klein, Juliana Miller. So I don't even really feel great about these 3 underdogs that I do have. The best of the bunch maybe being Jennifer Maia. How could you feel great about that? But I'm not trying to hunt some dog. I just need to zone in on who are my big guys, right? Usman, I like. You can put him at the top because you can hedge it out. Keep in mind, the last time they fought, that kick killed 2 guys in one go. Killed killed Kamaru Usman and also killed Lock of the Night. One kick ended his ass. Don't be making massive bets on MMA at the top. Singles. Oof. All the same, could happen again, but I like Usman. I feel like Fiziev's not super trustworthy, but he's going to get some play. I like Marvin Vettori. I like Sam Patterson. I like Lerone Murphy. I like Jake Hadley. I like Ludovic Klein. If I can zone in like 4, 5, 6 of those favorites and we can go with that, perfect. The rest of the card, we're just going to need some bounces and hope things fall into place. So again, you've got, Invicta. If you're watching this on a Wednesday, you got Invicta FC on Wednesday. There's LFA this weekend. There's an ACA this weekend. There is one of those shitty PFL Challenger series on the Friday. There's a KFW on the Saturday. There's 15 UFC fights on the Saturday. So again, I don't think you have to bet every single spot. If you do, small little action, $1 parlays, $2 parlays, a couple little props that you want to try to hit, these big 6-1, 7-1 type long shot props just for the fun of it. But yeah, the main thing is here, who are going to be our core 4? Who's the core 4? If I can get 6, money. But who are the core 4 that are not going to shit in my apple pie this week? Because JJ Aldrich last week really hurt things.
Hundo P, bro. Hundo P. I mean, you had a pretty hot start, or you had a pretty hot run there recently. I know you. I've known you for years. You will 100% get on track. I like that you're one of us now, because it can be. I mean, yeah, it was the Landsberg fight that really, set it in for me. I'm like, you got out of trouble, and then you went right back into trouble with like 15 seconds left. So 15 seconds left in the second round, and then she got herself knee barred. So it's a very volatile game. We got 15 fights, and volatility is the name of the game. Sorry, it sounded like you had something to say.
Yeah, I was lying there the other day. I was thinking about it. I was like, if you were to say, put me on the spot and say, what's the biggest by the numbers like dog hit in the last 2 years? It'd be like, shit, by the numbers? Maria Agapova losing to Shayna Dobson. By the numbers, she was like an 18-1 favorite. It's like, oh, crazy. Women's MMA struck on that one. It's like, well, what's the biggest upset you've seen in the last 2 years? It's like, oh, got to be Juliana Pena versus the GOAT, Amanda Nunes. Like, come on, Amanda Nunes is the GOAT, right? No one's disagreeing with that. And Juliana Pena, she's like the 5th best girl in the division, like crazy. It's like, yeah, those are 2 years ago. What's the biggest upset you've seen recently? It's like, oh, Valentina Shevchenko. What's the common denominator here, Paul? Is that I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Pat Mayo's been onto this for years, man. We lived together for 2 years, like a decade ago, and he was talking about it back then. So eventually I just got to start listening, right? And that's the focus here is stop making the bonehead plays, be a lot smarter, and no more JJ Aldriches.
Yeah, that was, I mean, props. That was a really weird one because that was the best. What's her name again? I can't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah,
That was the best
She's
Lipsky
been
has
looking
ever looked. Like all
for sure.
all of that KSW, like the highlights and stuff, is just like it wasn't anything like she had a lot of like crazy finishes and stuff in KSW. She's fighting an absolute nobodies, but it's like she really put the entire game together there. I was pretty impressed by what like she's finally, I feels like after that fight coming into her own and fulfilling all the potential that a lot of people thought she would have coming into the division. And she ain't too bad to look at. So the UFC marketing machine is like, let's go. Lipsky to the moon. All right, that is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For producer Megan, Cody Saftic, I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.